Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Ruach double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. All right, this lesson is going to be dealing with centering yourself, okay, which is something that a thought that came to mind. All right, which when in our ministry or in our walk in this truth, there's times when you hit certain points where things are not going the way you would prefer. Things might not be going smoothly or whatever the case may be. All right, but we need to understand that that's all a part of the balance of being in this truth. And sometimes when you catch hell, the fleshly part of you, you get upset, or it doesn't feel nice. You're unhappy, you're upset, and you have to understand that when you're locked into the spirit, when you catch hell, you notice that depending on what it is, you always come right back to the scriptures. You always come right back to the Lord. All right, and you the only thing really that comforts you when you're going through some difficulties is this truth, is having the thought and understanding that whatever's happening now is still temporary anyway. Okay, because most of the time, when different tribulations come, it's all temporary, even if it's a bodily infirmity or even a death. Because when Yahushua gets here, there's like it's going to be like a universal reset, and all of that is going to end. Remember, everything, it's a part of Esau's world. It's gone. It's considered the former things, as you read about in Revelation, the 21st chapter. So whether it may be financially or family or whatever it is that you may find yourself in. Now, I'm not saying that it's just because it's temporary that it doesn't have an effect on you. Of course it does, because we're still in this flesh. But you can't let it affect your mental ability and your focus in this truth. All right. And there's times when you need to just sit back and center yourself. All right. Examine yourself, as the scriptures say, and see where you are. Because there's sometimes when you might not be as hot in the spirit, and sometimes you may be on fire in the spirit, and sometimes you may be, right at the middle. Okay, and you're doing your thing, but it's always good to, every now and then just stop and center yourself and examine yourself and see, okay, well, where are you in the spirit? All right, are you fully engaged? Are you lacking? Is there more you can do? Are there aspects? Is there something that's weighing you down or dragging you down, or some thought that's limiting you? Because oftentimes there is, but because you never take the time to sit down and address it, so you can find a solution to it and pray on it, it stays there and it goes to the back of your mind. Even though it's a problem, there's so much going on in your life that you just put it aside and you put it aside, but yet it's hindering you. Okay, so you gotta, take that time and look at yourself and see because remember, we're all constantly trying to improve. So you have to see, well, where am I lacking? If I look at myself, what is it? Is it charity? Is it, what, and you got to pinpoint it depending on what it is. But the first thing you have to do is pray, because we will catch hell. We do catch hell. It's a balance. Sometimes life is good. Okay, well, as good as can be in Babylon, but it's not, nothing bad is going on. The Lord got your back. Everything seems to be going fine. And there's sometimes when it seems like everything is just going wrong. And that there's just demons trying to frustrate you. And yet it still affects you, because it's still grievous or vexing. But especially now, we're not going to have a smooth, happy, enjoyment of life here. So I want to start with this, Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So sometimes you'll be doing good, sometimes you'll be doing bad. Sometimes you'll have an abundance of something, and sometimes you'll have a scarcity of it. But you have to learn to be flexible in the spirit, meaning you have to learn to balance your spiritual responsibilities, okay, on this tightrope of adversity. Okay, you have to be able to balance yourself while all this is going on, all the shaking, all the movement, which is the things that this world may bring. And you still have to, you just have to keep going, because catching hell is never an excuse to not go or do the work of the Lord, because it's a part of doing the work of the Lord. You go through things, but when you overcome it, you show the Lord that, hey, that's one step or one level higher. Okay, so from here, let's go to the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 5. And it says, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith, prove your own selves, know ye not your own selves, how that Yahushua HaMashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates, meaning void of judgment, so you won't be able to tell. But that's why Paul said, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Okay, so let's look up this word examine, because there's times when you slowly start drifting, and if you're not careful and you don't catch yourself and you're not around people in like mind who will catch you, then guess what? You'll keep drifting, and your brain is constantly adjusting to your new way that you don't realize, hold on one second. I'm falling way too far back. And that's when complacency sets in. And when complacency sets in, you think, right? You think that you're at the same spot, but you're not. You're really regressing, and your brain is telling you that you're at the same spot. But in this truth, there's no such thing as staying at the same spot. You're either progressing or you're not. And if you're not, then you're going in reverse. Staying at the same spot is equivalent to going in reverse, because everybody else is moving forward. So when you look at the word examine, okay, it says perazzo in the Greek, and it says to try, make trial of, test for the purpose of ascertaining his quality. All right, and the Lord does that often. It says to try or test one's virtue or one's faith, virtue, character by enticement to sin. Now, this doesn't mean that you go and you say, well, I'm going to go look at what I used to have the most problems with. What sin that I used to have, would I have most difficulty letting go? And I'm going to go put myself in that situation to test my virtue. That's not being wise. Okay. But oftentimes the Lord examines us, and he throws tests and adversities our way, and we go through them. And if you have the Spirit, you're going to be able to discern and examine yourself while you're in that adversity. You may not cause the adversity, but being in it, you'll be able to see, okay, where are you lacking? Okay, and how did you end up here? What, you'll be able to examine these things. Now it says here, after the Old Testament usage of God to inflict evils upon one in order to prove his character and steadfastness of his faith. So this is why sometimes we go through certain things. It's for the Most High to prove our character and steadfastness of his faith. How much do you trust in the Lord? As Job said, though he slay me, yet will I maintain my trust in him. Well, is that something you believe, or is that something you just repeat? Okay. So now let's keep reading actually. So it says, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith, prove your own selves, and you'll know whether you're in the Spirit or not. Because the Lord is, if you are of the Lord's elect, he's given you, a part to where you can tell. Everybody knows themselves. So you can tell, look, this, what I'm saying, I could do better than this. Okay. And it says, know ye not your own selves, how that Yahushua HaMashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. Okay. So from here, let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 9. And I'm going to start at verse 24, because you don't want to be a reprobate, and you don't want to miss out on salvation because you didn't take that time to sit down and center yourself and to pray. If you're feeling weak, you have to pray. If you're feeling weak in the spirit, you have to pray. You can't just think, oh, well, it'll just pass. You got to do something. You have to be proactive. You have to do something, or else them demons will take advantage of your lack of initiative to change that condition you're in. You know, it's just a slump. I'll just stay in the slump. If it's a slump and you know it's a slump, shouldn't you be doing something to get out of that slump? So 1 Corinthians 9:24, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain. And this is a race that we cannot afford to lose. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. Okay. And when you go into this word temperate, it says to be self-controlled, continent. And when you that word continent, when you go into the book of 2nd Ezra, the 5th chapter, dealing with wisdom being withdrawn and you know the famine of the word and chaos, it says that incontinency shall be multiplied. So if continent is equivalent to self-control, incontinency or being incontinent would be the opposite of that. Okay, which is why the scriptures say that the course of their action shall stand in their power. People are going to be doing things, all right, or moving without self-control, letting these demons drive them. Okay, now it says here to exhibit self-government, conduct oneself temperately, to discipline yourself and to have self-control. Okay, so as Paul was saying here, that if you're striving for the mastery, you need to be disciplined in all things. You need to have a balance and you need to be able to control yourself. Now, these people, these athletes, there's certain things that they don't do, or certain things that they do so that they can put themselves in a better position, whether it's before an upcoming fight or a game or whatever it is. So for us, we have to do that same thing spiritually. Verse 26, I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air. So if you're fighting and you're exerting energy, you want to make sure you're hitting your target. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection. Now, how do you keep under your body and bring it into subjection? You first need to have that conscious decision and discipline to do that. To realize that, hold on, I need to mortify my members. I need to discipline myself. I've been slacking. Maybe you used to read a lot. You used to read the scriptures. You used to whatever it was you used to do. And now there's a certain distraction that's slowing you down. You need to bring your body under subjection, because more than likely that distraction is one that's pleasing the flesh. Because anything that's pleasing the spirit is working towards this truth. It's all going to work together. So if it's not, then chances are it's something that's pleasing to the flesh, and you need to discipline yourself. Not saying you didn't get, if it's not off, then it's not like you can't do it at all. Of course you can. We all need an outlet, but you need to discipline yourself and bring it into subjection, because if you let your body run wild and it controls you, you will be destroyed. All right. It says, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. And that's something that none of us want to be in. You don't want to be in that position. You don't want to be a castaway. Okay. You want to stay in this work and reap of the benefits. And when you look at the word castaway, it says not standing the test, not approved. Okay. That which does not prove itself such as it ought. Unfit for, unproved, reprobate, rejected. You don't want to be one of those. You want to be approved of the Most High. Okay? And you do that because being in this truth is also a proving ground for who the Lord is going to see worthy, all right, to be a part of his governing body. In terms of the teachers and the prophets, it's a proving ground to see who's going to be worthy to be, ruling over the Lord's sheep. Because right now we're doing that on a lower level as prophets, but in the kingdom we're not gonna just be proclaiming these things, but we're gonna be putting them into reality, so to speak. Okay, we're gonna be enforcing these things. Now, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, chapter 2, starting at verse 1. And I'm only going to read about the first few verses, because that's where the point that I want to make is. So it says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation." And they say the soul is the seat of the desires. Okay, so you have to prepare yourself for temptation. You have to know this is not going to be an easy ride, so you don't get shocked or surprised when things come upon you. It says, "Set thy heart aright and constantly endure." And this is something that people didn't consider before saying, "Oh, I want to be a part of this." And because of that, they ended up falling out, because they didn't think that this was as hard as it actually was, because it didn't look that way from the outside. Oh yeah, they just go, all they see is, they just go out there and wear dresses and curse people out, but they don't see the other part. They don't see the demons that come after us. They don't see the things that we go through in our day-to-day lives. So from the outside looking, oh yeah, I want to do that and curse out women and the Edomites and this and that. There's more to it than that, way more to it, and they don't consider that. So when they come into the truth and then it starts hitting them, and wisdom starts walking with them by crooked ways, they cannot take it. They cannot constantly endure. Their minds are not ready for it, because they didn't set their heart aright, and ultimately because the Lord didn't choose them. It says, "And make not haste in time of trouble." And this world teaches you to make haste in time of trouble. It teaches you the second something goes wrong, just panic, lose it, call 911. Forget about the Lord, forget about faith. Now's not the time for that. Just whenever you're in pain or in a position of difficulty, you're just trying to find the quickest way to make it stop. But the quickest way to make it stop might not always be the best way. So make not haste in time of trouble. You go through certain things, understand that the Lord wills everything. So if he allowed it to happen, there's a reason. So don't just lose it. Calm down. And I know that's not the easiest thing to do when you're in certain situations. Okay? And in some situations, you might get vexed hearing calm down, but you have to tell yourself, remain spiritual. Remain spiritual. Because the anger and the emotions are coming from your flesh and it wants to take control. But you need to remain spiritual. You need to bring your body under subjection. You need to center yourself and remember the scriptures and apply the scriptures. Because if you listen to your flesh, then you'll end up in a worse position than you are now. You need to think about these things when you're in certain situations. Okay? That's how you remain spiritual. And then when you calm down, you'll be glad that you thought of these things, and you'll be on a higher level because you can control yourself in certain situations, and you can avoid being a prey of demons and being in a much worse situation. Verse 3 says, "Cleave unto him," who? The Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, "and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end." So some people, they catch the hell and they can't endure unto the end. The scriptures say, better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. And because they can't see it through to the end, they drop out in the time of tribulation, out of haste, and they don't get increased at their last end because they didn't make it there. So it says, "Cleave unto him and depart not away." When you catch hell, you need to cleave to this truth. You need to cleave to the Lord. This is where you get the comfort. That's why it's called the Comforter. That thou mayest be increased at thy last end. So you can learn what the lesson is the Lord wanted you to learn from whatever calamity that you're going through at that moment. Because nothing comes by coincidence and nothing comes for no reason. And whatever it is, there's something that you're going to gain out of it. Whether you see it then or you see it later or you don't see it at all, the Lord knows. Verse 4, "Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate." because the Lord is not just going to change you to a lower state just for no reason. But the scriptures say, just as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are the Lord's ways higher than our ways. Okay? So you have to, what? Believe in the Lord and trust in him. Verse 5, for gold is tried in the fire, and that's an acceptable man in the furnace of adversity. So if you're going through that adversity, chances are the Lord sees you as acceptable, and he wants to purify you. Verse 6, believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him. Okay? Trust in him. And that starts with prayer and having faith. Prayer mixed with faith equals results. Okay, so with that, Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. Until next time, Shalom.